Hold on.
We're doing it. We're doing it.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead. You can read it.
All right, number 1. Based on your analysis of student learning evidence, establish what's been learned and by whom, and what has not been learned and by whom, and who needs additional support to meet the standard. What have you learned about our students' learning characteristics that you did not realize previously?
Okay. Well, I feel like she learned the standard, right?
Okay.
From what I was looking for.
So you feel like she mastered the standard based off of what you...
From what I was looking for her to be able to understand beginning, middle, and end, I feel like at the end of the lesson she understood what the beginning, middle, and end was of the story.
Okay.
Maybe she, like, I don't think that this can be the only lesson that we do beginning, middle, and end.
So you think there's room to grow with or extending?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Because I feel like I had to, like, talk to her about the middle and explain those things, and the setting, but that really wasn't something I was looking for. But yeah, I'm not really tripping. We're okay.
Okay.
No, so hold on.
Okay.
What have you learned about your students' learning characteristics you not previously learned?
Okay, so I think an additional support to help meet the standard
Yeah.
would be to involve some type of physical movement or saying that you can repeat with the class to help them understand the order of beginning, middle, and end, or first, next, last.
Okay.
That's going to help them kind of remember the order in which the story happens. So that would be, I think, a really good additional support that you could throw in.
What I learned about the students' learning characteristics that I didn't know previously. I guess, like, one thing I didn't, like, account for is, like, her previous knowledge of, like, sitting in a small group, and communicating, like with a partner and things like that. And so I guess, I don't know how I would, like, I guess I was more impressed more than anything, like, what I learned from her, is that she did have that knowledge of, like, working with, like, partners and in a small group, and, like, raising her hand and whispering in the ear of her elbow partner or whatever, things like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
What do you think? Is there anything else that you saw?
So you've learned about your students' learning characters that you not realize previously. Yeah, I think that's really good. She kind of had a strong handle on understanding classroom routines and procedures. She knew how to talk with partner, right? She knew how to turn to a partner and share her answer. She wasn't shy. She knew how to raise her hand. So she had rules and procedures down. I think she had a good general knowledge already of, like, a baseline knowledge of what happens at the beginning, what happens in the middle, and what happens at the end. So I think that was good, her having that going into this lesson.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's see. Number 2.
Okay. Formulate how effective your instructional design was based on your planning and teaching, as evidenced by data collected on student process and products of learning.
Okay. Well, I feel like it went as planned.
I agree.
I feel like it was successful.
Yes.
But the only thing that I felt like maybe I didn't set her up for success with was the setting and the characters.
Okay.
She just needed extra support on, like, clarification of the setting.
Yeah, she asked a clarifying question in the lesson. But it wasn't something that she didn't fully understand. She just needed a little extra support with remembering what the setting was, or what a setting is in the story, not necessarily what the setting was in the story, because she was able to accurately answer it.
Yeah, because once she understood what it was, I think that it might have got mixed up in the whole beginning, middle, and end thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, she gave the two different settings in the story. So yeah, I think it went well.
Yeah, I think it went really well. I mean, I think that she was really successful in completing the worksheet and understanding what was going on in the worksheet, and was able to accurately draw or depict what happened at the beginning, in the middle, and the end. And you kind of threw in the characters in the setting, and she did really well with that.
Yeah, she did. Let me think, number 3?
Sure. Okay, so number 3, moving forward, how will you plan differently based on your knowledge of student learning characteristics, both previously known and newly discovered? Which additional differentiation strategies and multi-tiered levels of support will you consider?
I think one thing I could do is maybe provide picture cards for the lower level students or the ELs, just to help them with the order of things.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I think any type of picture cards with ELs is such a good thing to help with their language development. And sometimes they don't feel comfortable, talking out loud as much.
Talking out loud, yes. And then I thought that maybe doing the chart as a whole group would maybe benefit those students that maybe are struggling with the understanding of like the beginning, middle, and end.
Sure. Yeah, I think doing the chart as a whole group would be good, or even trying to pull a small group with your chart.
That's right, yeah. Mm-hmm. So then explaining the chart as a whole group, and then pulling the lower
and your EL groups,
pulling them aside and working on it with them, while the rest of the class is working on the.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that would be good.
I also think something that you could plan differently is when you're explaining what happens before you read the story, explaining all the story elements, your character, your setting, your first, next, last. And I think you did a good job of that at the beginning before reading the story, but just including the character in the setting, because that was something that you did ask them to do on the worksheet.
And it was on the worksheet, but I didn't talk about it before we started.
So that would just be good. And that I really liked that you, before you read the story, you front-loaded them and said, I want you to pay attention to what's happening first, what's happening next, and what's happening last. I think that's really good because it gives them a good task to think of while the book is being read.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And then when you go into the worksheet, you can again say, okay, we're going to be talking about what happens first, what happens next, and what happens last. And so they kind of have a general understanding of what's happened in the worksheet as well. So it kind of all ties together before the book, during the book, and after the book.
And so one thing that you'd mentioned before we started recording is that letting them know like the numbers.
Yes.
Right? Like, so 1, 2, and 3, meaning 1 is the beginning, 2 is the middle, 3 is the end.
You can come up with like a fun saying that you can do together with them and do some type of total physical response or TPR where you go first comes the middle, first comes the beginning, next comes the middle, and last is the end. And you can count on your fingers, and that way you can kind of have them understand the sequential order of the story, that the beginning is number 1, the middle is number 2, and last is number 3.
Yeah, I like that. I think that's really cool.
And then you can say it with the class, they can say it together. You say it to them, they say it to you, you say it together. It's just kind of something that you can kind of like ingrain in there.
I like that. I think that's good.
Okay.
Let's go to number 4.
All right. Number 4. How will you modify, extend, or incorporate new levels of presentation, expression, and engagement for each learner's group as it relates to their processes and products of learning.
So numbering the boxes
Yeah, I think that numbering boxes
is
on
like,
the worksheet.
like
I think
the
that'd be
first
really helpful.
thing, I think. Are you good? And then the pictures, like
Mhm.
above the boxes.
Yeah, so just modifying the worksheet a little bit so that it's a little bit more kid friendly for those kids who are going to work on it independently, not in your small group. So, like drawing, like a person next to the word characters, and like, a sun and grass and a cloud next to setting, and then 1, 2, 3 next to first, next, and last, or beginning,
Right.
middle, end. And that way it's kind of easier for kids who are working independently to kind of navigate that worksheet a little bit easier without needing your help as soon as they move on to each box.
Yeah, because that was one thing I noticed, that maybe the worksheet might have been a little too advanced,
Sure.
or just not.
A little bit higher.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and I think with the addition to those pictures and things like that, I feel like it would be much more. It would be done easier, like
Yeah.
independently with those
Yeah.
different aids.
And that way you can really tell that worksheet, if you have them doing it independently, you can really tell which kids really grasped the subjects that you were teaching or the concepts that you were teaching,
Right.
like the beginning, the middle, and the end, if
Mhm.
they drew the pictures in the right order or not independently. I mean,
Right.
that's a great baseline, I
Yeah,
guess,
no, that
or
is.
evidence that you can collect from them.
Another thing that I think that I would incorporate would be just in my questions
Mm-hmm.
to have them justify their answers instead of just giving me one word answers. Like, make it so I have like a sentence starter that I give them, or
Mhm.
that way when they are responding to me, that we're responding in full sentences and not just one short word.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, you always want to keep them talking.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And using that academic language, like in the beginning, in the middle, the characters are.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess so. Like more structured partner talk with sentence frames, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's. Oh, and then the roll in retail game.
Yeah.
I feel like I would just not eliminate it, but
Mhm.
maybe like use it for the next day. I felt like maybe the lesson was too long.
Yeah. Sure.
Because
It
that
was
was
a lot of activities.
it was
Yeah.
a lot of activities, and it was
Mhm.
a lot of attention that needed to be like focused, and I don't know if that was realistic or not.
Yeah, you might not have that much time in the day for your your ELA block, your
Right.
language arts block. So you might, yeah, I think tapering it down a little bit would be good. I mean, the kids, they always can benefit from review.
Yeah.
So saving it for the next
So
day.
I think it's
or-
a cool thing. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I think it's cool, but then even the chart itself, I don't feel like it can be done independently,
Uh-huh.
and that's something that I was kind of like hoping that it would be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that I'd have to change that into being like a whole group activity, maybe with a partner,
Yeah, I think
Um,
that's great. That's a good idea.
right?
Yeah. And then you can roll the dice, and they can talk with their partner. You can give them sentence frames for them to turn and talk with their partner. And yeah, I think that's really great because then it makes reading about the book for the second day a little bit more fun or a little bit more engaging than
Right.
just like the paper pencil and reading the book and then going to paper pencil. It's more of like a fun activity.
Kind
Yeah.
of breaks it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, like I was happy with it. I was happy with Marley being able to like buy in to
Yes.
being in a classroom
Mhm.
and having interacting with that. So like I thought that was really fun.
Yeah. She really looked like she enjoyed herself a
so-
lot.
Yeah.
She paid attention. She was really good.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Is there anything else that maybe I don't know that you
No,
saw?
I think we covered all of the good things that we saw, and we covered things that how to modify or incorporate to make it a better lesson the next time around.
Yeah,
Make sure you hit all of those groups.
I think maybe the biggest things were the TPR,
Mhm.
incorporating those like
Mhm.
just different actions.
Yeah.
I really liked that
Yeah.
suggestion, and then the retail cards for the ELs. I thought
Yeah.
that was super cool.
hmm
Um,
So that way you can still gauge if they got it or not, if
Yeah.
they can't draw it or
Right.
they can't articulate it. Yeah.
yeah, no, I thought that was
Mhm.
really cool. Yeah.
Modifying that worksheet too,
And
I
the
think
worksheet is like the biggest
would
thing.
be so meaningful. Yeah,
Yeah.
It would really, you would be able to tell.
Adding the pictures and things like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Well, cool.
All right.
Oh, I don't know. Do I have to? This is Emily from Gibson.
Yeah, I'm Emily Garcia. I teach kindergarten. This will be
Yeah.
my 7th year teaching kindergarten, so I'm pretty well versed, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah, totally. So, yeah, I don't know. That's it. Thank you.